go ahead with the first one, and I will ask you, as you review, to take a look and share your feedback in the chat. The core question is, what could be better? Great question. Who pays $0 for a watch? Great answer. So great chat. Keep them coming. Like we said, a little bit funny example, so please feel free to continue sharing your feedback. Sharpening our skills, we know, kind of a funny example to look at, but some weird stuff is definitely happening here. So let's take a closer look at how close are you to the answers, some of the answers that I shared. So yeah, I definitely saw someone had, where's the introduction? What's the title? What's the header? What is this even about? Why do we start with, do you like to use coupons? It seems to have to do with watches, but we're not sure exactly about the flow. So definitely an introduction would help us here. Specify what for number one is a little bit of a strange one. So it might be a yes or no question. It could have been, how likely are you to use coupons? But other begs the question, what is that other that we are please specifying? A little bit weird. Number two, definitely agree with the feedback on the order. If there's not a reason, like chronological order or something like that, reason why you need to have it in a certain order, put it in alphabetical order. It makes it easier for people to understand. And notice also number two is a single select question. You could only have heard of one brand in this case, unfortunately. Number three is a checkbox question. You can see in our platform, a checkbox is just a box, so you can definitely see what's happening here. The idea here of how familiar are you with it seems to be a range type question, but unfortunately we have yes, no, or other, which doesn't seem to apply in this case. And as well, there's not really a range, and unfortunately you could select all three of those. So those of you testing it on the live link, you can see that as well. How do you prefer to shop? Number four is an unusual scale. There's not really a relationship between in-person and online that could perhaps be measured on a 10-point scale in this case. But this is more of a binary choice, perhaps, or how likely are you to do one versus the other? A little bit of a weird way to measure exactly how do you prefer to shop, some sort of unusual structure there. Number five, a lot of you had great feedback on this one as well too. How much would you pay for a new watch? $0. Again, sort of obvious to us as well too. Maybe somebody doesn't want to buy a watch. We're not really sure, again, what the purpose of this was. It sent to me to ask if I want to buy a watch? Who knows? But presumably $0 means I don't want a watch, or I only want one for free. Then we have some unusual structure. There's overlapping ranges. 0 is part of two answer options. 25 is part of, there's a weird gap between 75 and 100. Again, I'm not really sure how much you would pay for a watch, but some unusual answer options here. And notice too that we can select more than one. If you've made that choice, and many types, like shopping type filters allow us to do that. How much do you want to spend? This amount or this amount or this amount? That's totally fine. But if you're looking to make a decision, it makes more sense to say, ask a question or range, like what is the maximum that you would, and then make it a single select question. Yeah, number 6, definitely weird, very beautiful, let's just say, very beautiful symbol rating scale type options here. But there's not a relationship between the question and the answer. So it might be, how likely are you to use each of those? Perhaps 5 is most likely, which would need some clarification. But there's a mismatch. What would you do if you were looking for a new watch? Here it could be a ranking question, or it could be a rating question of how likely are you to be looking for these answers, or to be looking through each of these methods. And number 7, did you ever buy a watch? Again, a weirdly binary choice, which has a tertiary option that we could not necessarily anticipate. Not sure if I ever bought a watch, in our long lives, perhaps we may have forgotten, but it's a pretty specific question. The real issue here is the order in which this question appears. When we look at all of this together, did you ever buy a watch, perhaps, is something that maybe makes more sense at the beginning if this is a market research type survey. If I've never bought a watch, why are you going to waste my time about how much money I would spend on this watch that I won't buy, which brands I care about, and which channels are most useful for me? So a little bit of a strange structure. And by the way, do you like to use coupons? You can tell that there's some thought that went into it, but unfortunately it doesn't all come together. So the challenge in this set here that I pulled out is content and context. Clear audience and purpose. It's not clear to us as casual observers of this survey. Does your audience know what this is all about? Do they understand why you're reaching out to them? What their answers have to do with anything? Are you able to achieve the purpose that you've set out once you're done? And does the order support understanding, not just for you, but for your audience as well?